The throttles are about to come forward on the A-18 Super Hornet. Two General Electric F414 engines, giving it 44,000 pounds of thrust. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Hornet's new sting. It's the Rhino. With a 1/2 Cuban 8. The Super Hornet is unique in its ability to operate at slow speeds and high angles of attack. Observe how the aircraft rotates 180 degrees in nearly a flat attitude as they now climb straight up to 3,500, now 4,000, now 4,500 feet above the ground, rolling over on its back again. The Super Hornet's engines produce over 44,000 pounds of thrust in full afterburner. This allows the aircraft to sustain 8 times the force of gravity. In a turn radius of less than 1,500 feet, whether in a dogfight or avoiding surface-to-air missiles, the ability of the Super Hornet to turn in a very tight space gives it tremendous tactical advantage. Ladies and gentlemen, the minimum radius turn from the Super Hornet. Super Hornet, indicating that it is very close to the speed of sound, and they're going to be very careful not to exceed that speed because the subsequent sonic boom would shatter the windows of cars and buildings in the surrounding area. Keep in mind that the speed at which they are flying is only half of what the aircraft is capable of. As they pass in front of you, Flag and Little Roo will pull the aircraft into the vertical and quickly point the jet back at the earth. Now, as they climb near vertical at over 600 miles per hour, they're going to get this nose pointed straight back down to the ground. They call it an abrupt pullover. Oh boy! The aircrew are now locking their harnesses as they prepare for the next maneuver, the vertical pirouette. Entering the maneuver at 350 knots, or over nearly 400 miles per hour, they're going to pull the jet into the vertical and roll the canopy toward the crowd. Over for the vertical pirouette. Negative 3 G's on this, ladies and gentlemen, as they pushed over, and there you see that pirouette. The aircraft is now setting up for a maneuver known as the square loop. Selecting afterburner as the jet approaches show center. Lieutenant Vimone will rapidly reposition the nose 4 times while flying a square path through the sky. After exiting the square loop, they're going to execute a loaded roll and demonstrate the awesome low-speed maneuverability of the Rhino. Pay attention to the nose as it appears to stay in place as the tail rotates around it at the end of this square loop. Here comes the beginning of the square loop. Watch for the pulse. 90 degrees straight up. Here comes the Rhino's square loop. Here comes side 4 of the square loop. Now watch as they aim away from the the aircraft to 450 knots at a height of just 500 feet. Approaching show center, they'll roll the aircraft inverted and reduce the power to idle. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for the inverted Whisper Pass. Here comes the inverted Whisper Pass. We're going to take the music down, upside down. Rhino announcer, you're loud on the PA. Hello there, folks. Flag and roof are now going to set up for the high alpha pass. This maneuver will show you the incredible slow speed handling characteristics of the Super Hornet. Sometimes the aircraft with the ability to fly slowest will have the advantage in air-to-air combat, as the potential adversary may be forced to fly in front of the fighter. No other aircraft in the Navy would attempt to maneuver at this slow speed and nose attitude. However, the A-18 Super Hornet remains completely controllable with 2 digital flight control computers aiding them in keeping this 34,000-pound plane flying at less than 100 miles per hour. If it got much slower, this airplane would turn into a bag of hammers. The job of a naval aviator is not complete until his or her aircraft is back aboard its floating home. The approach to the carrier is often the most dangerous part of a naval aviator's mission. Landing your airplane at 130 miles an hour on a few hundred feet of moving deck is extremely challenging. From 600 miles per hour, they go into a sharp 100 turn. That's the carrier brake. It is done because of the number of airplanes that have to land on the carrier in a short period of time, and also because the carrier fleet is at its most vulnerable during that time. As they come around, they'll set up with the landing gear and tail hook extended for the carrier pass. Each landing that a naval aviator does, whether on the ground or on the deck of a carrier, is graded. It is their job to catch one of 4 wires stretched across the deck of a carrier, and if something happens that they are unable to catch one of those 4 wires, they go full power so they can accelerate away if necessary, just as we're seeing now. Approaching from the right, from VFA 106 at Naval Air Station Oceana, the crew of the Rhino, Lieutenant James Guimond and Lieutenant Adam Drayton. And what a treat it is to be able to see this amazing airplane that first flew in 1995. The original Hornet was developed by Northrop Corporation. It was known as, actually prior to the time the Navy bought it, as the Hornet. It was called the YF-17. In the early 1970s, it was a competitor with the General Dynamics YF-16 and a new fighter for the United States Air Force.